Hey, Jason, we are recording here for the first time ever with our new mobile podcasting studio.
Tim, it's exciting.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun to be here with you always to record, regardless of the location. But yeah, we definitely have a new recording
And
setup.
here we are in Ottawa, Ontario. Normally that wouldn't be an option for us when we're yoked to a physical studio, but now we can go anywhere. And I think hopefully one of the consequences of this is the listeners will be able to see us in a variety of cool places.
Yeah, we are in a cool place. So yeah, 3-camera shoot. You'll see the usual, hopefully the usual high audio quality level, and 3 cameras to look at. So we're all good.
All right. So enough about the podcasting process. Let's talk about what we have to talk about today. And what I would like to talk about today, Jason, if you can, is that there's a set of deprecation of DCV methods that is coming up.
This was long overdue,
Yeah.
Tim. I think let's talk about that first.
Yeah. So two things. First of all is we referenced this in an earlier episode back in 2025 when it was in discussion. And at that point, it wasn't a ballot and it hadn't even been proposed as a ballot. So we didn't get into the details, but now it has been proposed as a ballot and it has passed. And so there are there's set of specific deprecations that are coming on specific dates. So we will go over those. But to your point, this absolutely, this is a function, this is a great example of the evolving PKI.
So, Tim, we've seen everything from the shortening of certificate lifespans, MPIC, and so many other things around, even the shortening of DCV, lifetime periods. It's the validity periods. This is, I think, was one of the should have been maybe earlier to drop, but it came later in the cycle. And I think, to me, this might be one of the most impactful to the subscriber. It might even be impactful to the way in which a lot of people, maybe even, Tim, I'm going to challenge you, maybe even the majority of people, the traditional ways in which they've got their certs has changed over time, but there's still some of these older methods that are very popular.
Yeah. And so, and this is kind of what I was getting to with the evolving PKI. If you think about how public certificates came into being, the volume of it was very small. The use cases were specific. The instances of how they were used were very limited, and it was all extremely manual. And that was perfectly appropriate for, let's say 1995, when, I would have one customer facing URL where you would log into your banking or do your online shopping or whatever, but order a pizza, right? But that is just not the world we're in anymore. And, we've seen this movement toward things like automation and crypto agility and what really are essential requirements for a modern digital infrastructure to run in a secure, resilient, reliable way. And DCV, one thing that happens in this world of the web PKI is this legacy stuff hangs around for a long time. And this is cleanup, as you said, of some allowed methods that probably could have gone away many years ago.
The one that comes to mind that was obsolete almost from the start, even though I know we had to have something that just worked. But email, nobody can consider that secure.
Email we'll get. There's worse than email. We'll get to email. But yeah, email is such a great example because email is such an old technology that it was created in a very different time with very different expectations. And the foundational insecurity of email pokes its head up in all kinds of ways throughout our lives, but we need it, right? We depend on it. Without it, how would we operate? And yet, email just introduces vast security risks into everything.
So there's one good example. So I think, Tim, it's time, go through the list
Okay.
and let's hear it.
So let's go through the list. So there are 3 key dates where various deprecations will occur. And this is all deprecations of DCV methods. And the first one is March 15, 2026. That's DCV using an IP address. Now, for Sectigo customers, we don't do that anyway. We've had that. That's been disallowed by us for years. So if you're a Sectigo customer, this isn't going to affect you. If you've got certs from other CAs, it might. And that's deprecated as of March 15, 2026. So that's the first one. The other thing that's built into the ballot, and it's in the ballot, this is not the kind of thing you can really measure or metricize, which in general, I'm not crazy about having that kind of thing in rules, but I know why it's here in this case. The ballot says that CAs are supposed to discourage is the word, the use of phone and email. And the reason that's there is because of the dates that come later. So the next date is March 15, 2027. And March 15, 2027 deprecates phone, fax, SMS, and postal mail as DCV methods.
Fax.
Postal mail. Okay. Yes.
No, postal mail. Postal mail. I'll tell you what. My very first domain I ever bought,
right,
Sirocco.com, was by postal mail.
I understand that, and that's where it made great sense in 1995, right? That was a method, and I think I recently told an anecdote on this show about having to go to the post office to mail something because I don't own stamps, right? So yes, postal mail is still an allowed method according to the BRs. Fax. Do you have a fax machine? I can't send a fax.
Weren't you responsible for WinFax?
Yeah. I was the product manager for WinFax, but that too was a long time ago. And so, all of those methods, like I don't know anybody who really does DCV with any of those, but they're allowed in the BRs. And so the point is that we need to clean that stuff up and get rid of it. Because if there is a CA that uses these methods, and if these methods are manual and fundamentally unsecure and spoofable, and if I can spoof somebody because I'm using the postal mail method, then that's a vulnerability. And we don't need those. Those are not appropriate in our current digital world. And of course, they're completely unautomatable. They're incredibly difficult to audit. They're incredibly difficult to put software-based guardrails around. They're fundamentally human, and we know humans are error-prone. And these are all reasons why those things are bad.
Tim, it's past time.
Yeah.
But I think as the general cleanup is going on right now in WebPKI, it's now. So that's good. And those dates are quite reasonable, I think, for everyone.
Yeah, they're giving everybody a chance. And so, I'm happy because I don't want to have to go back to the post office to do domain control validation. And now I'm rescued from that. So that's good. And then March 15, 2028, this is the big one. This is the deprecation of email-based DCV.
Okay, before you go any further on that one, the question is, do you know or do you have a sense for, is that the majority of DCV right now? I think it might be, but I could be wrong.
Certainly, in terms of DCV events, it is not the majority. But what happens is it's a healthy DCV method, and it's the go-to in particular in a lot of large enterprises because it's easier. So imagine an environment where you've got a great deal of segregation of responsibility, right? So if you look at the methods you have now, you can, you can do a DNS-based thing. So that's fine in a small company where a very tight IT team does both certificates and DNS. But if you get into a large organization where the certificate people never talk to the DNS people, right? And they're in different offices in different countries, then this becomes just difficult. It's burdensome. So they don't want to do that. So then you could put a shared secret on the site. Well, okay, you have the same problem there in a large company. Certificates people aren't the same as the people who actually produce public facing web content, right? They don't actually create HTML pages and stand them up, right? So then once again, you have to liaise with another team. And so once you get to this point where there's another team you're liaising with, especially if it's someone who isn't close to you or you're not dealing with on a regular basis, it's real easy to say, just send me an email, right? And so that's where you see a lot of it.
Yes.
And those organizations are going to have to deal with doing these other ways. It's very doable. It's just less convenient.
I think for a long time, it might have been the majority of how DCV was done. I think there was a period where it
I agree with you. Absolutely.
And I think now I'll change what I said earlier about it being, I suspect it's the majority. I think it's the majority of the non-automated stuff.
Oh, it's almost all of the non-automated stuff for sure. And I think another point, and maybe this is what you were getting at, is there's a very, very large number of organizations that do at least a little bit of email-based DCV.
Okay.
So the number of organizations that are going to be affected is very large. It doesn't have to be all of your certificates or all your domains for you to be affected, right? And that's definitely an issue where these enterprises are going to have to come up with a different process.
Tim, I'm going to take this opportunity at the end of this podcast to say to people, if you want to see all those dates and facts and figures written out nice and large on a screen, by the way, we do have a YouTube video that we are recording along with all of these episodes. I still find, Tim, there's a lot of people who think we are audio only, and that is not true.
Well, we were audio. I mean, this is legacy stuff, right? We were audio for our first 6 years.
Yep.
And in that time, we've, built that reputation. Yeah, absolutely. So I guess you're making a promise that we're going to stick those up on the YouTube channel so you can see them with your eyes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's a promise.
Right, here we go. Thank you, Tim.
Okay, so I think the last point to think about here is this is part of a larger trend that you already alluded at to clean up this old lingering legacy stuff with the idea of winding up with a modern, automated, crypto agile, resilient, predictable, reliable web PKI that is universally that way.
Brave
That's
world.
kind of the goal. Yeah.
We're heading there. We are heading there faster than we were before.
We are for sure. All right. Thanks, Jay.
Thank you, Tim.